Okay, so today I am going to teach you what I consider to be one of the most important skills that you need to learn to be very good at high ticket sales, and that skill is strategic questioning. Now, this differs dramatically from typical questioning, which you're going to see as you go through watching this video. But this is one of the key skills that I leveraged to close over $3 million in deals for Charlie Morgan. It is one of the key skills that I have used to help 7 business owners at this point in time go from around 10, 20K per month all the way to 100K per month in the space of like 90 to 120 days. And around 40 of my other clients to 2x, 3x, 4x their close rate, again in the space of 30 to 90 days. It's really, really valuable and really, really important for you to learn if you're not quite getting my point. Now, the way that I'm going to teach you how to go about actually leveraging this skill is by diving into a coaching call that I did earlier on this week with a couple of my clients. We're going to be jumping into a role play. In the first part of the role play, I'm going to show you my clients engaging in the role play by themselves. And there's a couple of mistakes which I will highlight to you so that you don't make them on your own calls. And then on the tail end of the role play, I actually jump in myself and I show you how to go about leveraging strategic questioning in a more effective, a more efficient way so that you can work to the close or work towards the reframe a lot faster. 2 quick things. In this section of the call, I'm not going to actually show you my clients' faces because I don't know if they're happy for me to put them up on YouTube. So you're going to just have to deal with staring at my face. And the second thing is, just so you have context, we're going to be doing a convince me other role play. Now, if you're not familiar with the convince me otherwise role play, you have the business owner who is trying to change the perspective of the prospect. And in this situation, the business owner is trying to convince the prospect that they should not play video games as much because there is more benefit for them to use their time in other activities. So with all of this in mind, let's get started.
Beyond the games, Katal, what are you doing for a living?
So I launched my own business in February.
Oh, you are starting now.
So small issue there. Okay, Sabir hasn't quite picked up on the active listening side of things, and he said, "Oh, you're starting now." Although Kahal has already said that he has launched the business. So active listening, I'll do another video on this and another breakdown on another day. But definitely S tier level skill when it comes to high ticket sales. Need to be paying very, very close attention to what the prospect is saying all the time.
Yeah. So we launched in February.
Okay, so there we go. We can see Kahal giving him clarification because, again, Sapir was not clearly picking up on what was being said.
Got you. So you mentioned that you're playing the games, which is good sometimes. How important do you think is that?
Interesting there. Playing the games is good sometimes. Loaded language. Not sure whether or not the prospect would pick up on that. But if you're going to use loaded language when you're in your high ticket sales calls, you need to do it strategically. You want to be pushing the prospect in a specific direction when you're doing that rather than just using it flippantly. So let's see what Sabir does here on the back end of this statement to try and push the conversation in the direction that he wants it to go.
When
Just to be clear here, the reason why it's important when you're using loaded language to do it strategically is because if you don't, then it's possible that you could flare the prospect's ego, which in turn is going to create sales resistance, all right? Which obviously is going to make it harder to close.
when it comes to playing the games and when it comes to playing the business game, to have a focus on the building the business, did you have any feeling that maybe playing the games is sometimes like not really the best use of time, and if you could invest it in your business, you could get way better results?
Okay, so I can see where Sabir is trying to go. Effectively, what he's saying to him is, do you think that it's possible that by allocating more time into your business as opposed to allocating more time into playing video games that you might be a little bit further ahead, right? But the way that he is structuring the question, again, is quite loaded. And so it wouldn't surprise me, even though I have obviously seen this already, but it wouldn't surprise me in other situations if in the same way that Kahal has a little bit of a negative reaction to this, that would happen in other calls too. And so you need to be mindful not only of your tonality, because Sabir's tonality here is good, but the verbiage too. And the verbiage is too loaded, and it's, as I said before, going to most likely trigger Kahal's ego, which in turn is going to create sales resistance.
Bit of a philosophical question at that point. I know that I'm putting in enough work because I am getting the results that I need.
Yeah.
Right? So Cajal's kind of just shut it down.
I mean, I was playing the games before as well. I mean, a couple years back. I still have PlayStation 4.
Okay, so this is nice. What Sabir is doing here, right? He's bringing himself into the conversation and now starting to create an element of non-judgment, which is going to lower self-resistance. So this is also a good way to go about bridging the gap and creating more rapport with the prospect. So again, you can get them to open up a little bit and enable them to see your perspective a little bit more than they would have beforehand.
Like Call of Duty. But then I met a mentor who told me that, I should focus more on the business and try to go. So do you feel that the games somehow distract you sometimes when you feel like, okay, I'm now stuck, I will go and just play games, and
Again, the language is a little bit too harsh. Good question, but it's not phrased in the way that I would like to see, especially when you know that you're approaching sensitive topics or you're approaching sensitive conversations. It's important that you use tentative language. You want to be saying possibly, you want to be saying potentially, you want to be saying sometimes, you want to be using very soft language. So especially when you position it in the right way, if you use a binary question, and if you don't know what a binary question is effectively you structuring a question in a way where there's only either a yes or a no answer to it.
try to burn the time.
Yeah,
Not really.
definitely not. Like I said, like I put the hours in that the business needs.
So you have a feeling that even though you can run the business and also play the games, so it doesn't disturb actually your growth.
Yeah, definitely not. Actually, this old mentor of mine, I don't know if you've heard of him, Charlie Morgan. Like he used to play Call of Duty and FIFA on sales calls, and
Yeah.
This is a true story, by the way. Believe it or not.
he's a
Yeah.
killer. He's a killer in that game. So
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
he almost inspired me nearly to keep playing video
Mm.
games.
Okay, so just to be clear here, in this role play, we have set the difficulty level to maximum. Like Cajal is supposed to be as challenging as possible. And so Sabir really needs to cover a lot more ground here, because this is probably the third time now Cajal has shut down his attempt of opening the door, bridging the gap. Carl's really leaning into this aspect of, now I actually feel inspired to play video games, because if one of my mentors was doing it, then I should definitely be doing it too.
How many hours do you spend on video games in a week?
This is a good question.
Just curious.
I couldn't tell you. Like I'm not tracking it. It's always after the work is done.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's important in these situations, especially when you have a good question on the table, that you do not give up, right? Cajal said, oh, I don't know. I don't really have an idea. I'm not tracking it. You have to re-paraphrase the question and quantify this, because this is really useful information for you to start being able to leverage throughout the entirety of the role play or throughout the entirety of the call. If Carl, for example, says that he's doing like 1 hour or 2 hours of playing video games on a daily basis, and you start compounding that out, right? So, okay, so from what I'm understanding, Monday through Friday, that's 10 hours per week. And over the course of a month, you're spending about 40 hours playing video games, right? Yeah, okay, cool. And just so I can understand, how many hours of work are you doing on a weekly basis? Let's say he also says about 40 hours per week, right? Now we have a huge way that we can go about juxtaposing this. Okay, so from what I'm understanding, at the moment you're making XK per month, you're spending 40 hours per week working on the business, but you're also spending 40 hours per month just playing video games, which is fine, right? Then we need to lean into that side of, it's okay, like I'm on your side, build some rapport. Then we can go to our binary question of, do you think that possibly if you were to spend only 20 hours on a monthly basis playing video games and put another 20 hours into the business, that you would be further ahead than you are right now? Binary question. Because I have used tentative language as well, do you think that possibly, right? Of course it is possible. Of course it's possible. So he can't say no, he has to say yes. Strategic question. Right? Because it now enables me to take one step further forwards in the role play, in the conversation, in the reframe, to be able to get Cajal logically to where I want him to be. I won't go into more depth on this just now, but when it comes to my side of doing the role play, you're going to see how all of this plays out in depth and how quickly you can actually shift someone's perspective on a position or on a belief.
Yeah. But do you feel that it's like 2-3 hours a day?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Better way for Sabir to position that question. Do you feel like it's 2-3 hours a day? It would have been for him to say, okay, when you say that you're not sure, does that mean it's like half an hour, it's like 10 minutes, it's an hour, it's 2 hours, it's 3 hours? Roughly, what does that look like? We're lowering the boundary to entry. We could go super extreme, right? 10 minutes, is it like 10 minutes a day? We know that he's not going to say, yes, it's 10 minutes a day, because it's too low. We could go super high. Is it 4 hours, 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day? We also know that he's going to say no to that as well. So by doing that process, we can start putting parameters in place of this is kind of the rough range that we're looking at. And just by getting Cahal to take that one step forwards, it then becomes easier to get him to be more specific and say, okay, so at the moment it's somewhere between, an hour and 4 hours. Just so that I'm understanding this correctly, like, would you say that we're sitting at consistently around 2 hours per day, or what does that look like on your side, right? But it's the long story short with this is it's really important that we can quantify this so that we can use that information later down the line in the role play or in the sales call.
You, like, before playing the games, you recently started playing, right? What did you do in your...
Okay, so there we got pushback from Cahal twice. Sabir asked the question, got pushback. Sabir asked another follow-up question to try and quantify it, got pushback, and then gave up. It's important in those situations to just keep paraphrasing, working around it so that you can get an answer.
In your free time beyond playing the games before?
And just to explain why, especially in this situation, this is so important, is because it was an angle. That is what we're looking for with strategic questions. We are looking for an angle of attack to be able to attack the objection, the concern, the problem, right? Because unless you have got an end state that you are working towards, and you will see this, and I'm not going to spend too much more time on the front end of this roleplay, but you will see this as we continue in this roleplay. There's good questions that are being asked, but they're not really leading anywhere. And that's why it's really important that you have an end state in play so that every question stacks on top of each other. And especially if you're using binary questions, aka questions that lead to either a yes or a no, it gives you a lot more control over the conversation so that you can work towards the close or you can work towards the reframe a lot faster.
So I train, I go on runs, I walk, I cook, I read. I do everything that I want to do. Like, the video games aren't taking anything away from me.
Yeah. No, I don't give a feeling that it's taking. I'm just really curious because, when you say I trained before, like, are you still going to training?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Train
you can
5
compensate
days a
both.
week.
Oh, 5 times a week. So it means you would say like 2-3 hours a day you're spending for the games. How about like spending time with you have a girlfriend?
Okay, so here we've come back to the time aspect, which is good, but we're positioning it as a statement. So you're spending 2 to 3 hours playing video games per day. Cahal has not said that. So again, this comes back to the active listening piece. I will do a video on active listening because this is so important. You don't have to drop me a follow, subscribe, whatever it is that you want to do if you don't want to, because at the end of the day, if you're not getting value from this, then what's the point? But if you do want to get value from this, drop me a follow, subscribe to my channel, and I will do a video on active listening for you. But the problem here is Sabir is making an assumption, right? If Cahal is not playing 2 to 3 hours per day, let's say he's only playing 1 hour per day, when it comes time for him to do his reframe, everything is going to fall apart. But again, hopefully from this front end of the roleplay, you can see that the conversation is a little bit too loose. It's not really working towards a clear direction. So let's speed things ahead a little bit, and I will show you when I jump into the roleplay, and we can pick apart some of the differences from the front end of the roleplay to here. Great sales resistance, but the key thing is the angle. one thing that I should mention as well is obviously I've had the benefit of collecting some pieces of information, so I'm continuing the role play on. I know that Cahal is playing video games, he's interested in playing video games, he likes playing video games, that he does a little bit of training. I'm going to use these pieces of information to help me to work towards my objective of convincing him that maybe he shouldn't be playing as much as he should. Also, just to be clear here, this is a role play. Cahal is not, running a business and also being a professional gamer at the same time.
So let's try this. So Cahal, from what I'm understanding at the moment, to be honest with you, it sounds like the video games.
Okay, so this unto itself is something that's really interesting that maybe we could have skipped past, but I won't. Do you see how much of a pause there was there? Right? Do you see how long I paused in that situation? Now, I'm doing that for a few different reasons. One, I'm doing it because I feel very comfortable because I know that I am going to control the conversation. You look at Jordan Peterson, you look at Elon Musk, you look at people who are extremely compendious, extremely concise, excellent communicators, you will notice frequently that they play around with their cadence. There are pauses, dramatic pauses in their rhythm of speech, which causes them to be more entertaining to listen to. The second reason why this is important is because if you're able to sit in that seat of being comfortable with taking pauses to actually think about what it is that you want to say, when you speak, you will be more compendious. You will move people with your words. You won't you won't you will just be clear and concise. And especially when it comes to strategic questioning, because the key word in this is being strategic, you need to be thinking 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of the prospect. It's like grandmaster level of chess in sales. So taking that time to think about where you're going is really important and definitely something that I would advocate for. Also, another topic of conversation I could probably talk to you for an hour or so about in a YouTube video if you want to, being cheeky here, if you want to subscribe.
Is that actually bringing you quite a lot of joy? Is that correct?
So my first angle here is to bridge the gap, right? I'm going to lean into this aspect of there's no judgment on my side. Reason why I'm doing this is because I want to lower his guard. I want to lower sales resistance. Reason why I want to do that is because if I can remove ego from the conversation and get Cahal into the position where he's willing to open up to me, then I'm more likely to get to the truth faster. And if I can get to the truth faster, then I can wrap up this entire role play a lot faster as well. Right? But if he's lying to me because I flared his ego, he doesn't trust me, he doesn't like me, whatever it might be, it's going to make it a lot more complicated for me to actually root out what is really going on so that I can handle that thing.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And when you say that it is bringing you joy, I guess, what do you mean? Is it just that it allows you to unwind, or is it a case of you enjoy the whole aspect of being able to play as a character and level up that character, or is it a bit of both? Is it something else? What does that look like?
Okay, interesting question here. I am now trying to find an angle in the same way that you probably have seen on Instagram or on TikTok of sales trainers doing role plays or being on sales calls, and they'll put a little bar at the top that says isolating the objection, yada, yada, yada. I'm kind of doing that to an extent. It's not really an objection at this point in time. I'm just seeking clarity. Why? Because it's not obvious. Why does he like playing video games? But I could have my own perspective on it, which I've kind of shared to an extent. Because it helps you to relax. That's one thing. If I want to formulate my reframe off of the whole relax angle, which I actually do, it's a completely different story versus if he says, oh no, I just like being able to play these RPG games where I'm able to like develop the character. Because then there's a whole nother angle there, which I can tie back to business and I can tie back to life. But I'm also here leaving an open-ended question. So I'm giving him a binary option to the question, which is it this relaxation or is it this? Is it the aspect of I want to level up? But I'm also putting an open-ended question on the tail end of that in case I am missing something and he wants to bring something else to the table, right?
No, you can.
And just to be clear, why this is important is because if I'm wrong in making the assumption that it's the relaxation thing or the character thing, and then I build my whole reframe around that, that unto itself could damage rapport, could damage trust, because the prospect could feel like I'm not actually listening to them, and also it would waste a lot of time, right? So it's important that I'm structuring the questions, aka strategically, in a way that enables me to be able to root out what is actually going on as quickly as possible.
You can shut off. Everybody has their shut off activity. You can shut off after a hard day.
Okay, so we've got confirmation of what it is.
Okay, cool. So obviously video games is one way for you to be able to shut off, right? I'm guessing it's probably not the only thing that you have ever done to be able to help you to relax a little bit more. So what are some of the other things that you've done in the past that have also given you a similar sense of feeling relaxed, allowing you to unwind, etc.?
Okay, so I now have a hook, right? And now have a viable pathway that I can explore. So I'm doubling it down on it. And as this roleplay plays out, hopefully you will start to see how I am constructing the reframe very slowly. I'm doing it very strategically in a way where by the time that Kahal realizes he is in a trap, it will be too late for him to get out of the trap. So right now, I'm trying to get clarity on what are some other things that also make you feel relaxed that aren't associated to video games. And I'm not going to explain why I'm doing that right now. I actually want to see if you can figure it out for yourself as we're going through the role play, but I will explain it to you in a couple of minutes.
I mean, I train almost every day. I go on walks, I read. They all help.
Okay, so we've got three different things there. We've got train, we've got walks, we've got reading, right? The crux and the end state that I am trying to work towards is, do you think that playing video games is the most valuable thing that you could be doing with your time, right? I also need to be cognizant and careful of the fact that obviously it is bringing him some value. My objective here is not to say, hey, look, this is completely useless, because obviously that's not objectively true. It's more just a case of, are there other things that you could do? And this is, you'll see how I work towards this question, how long I take to get to this question, so that by the time I do get to this question, I know that I'm going to get a yes. But the ultimate question that I'm asking is, do you think there are other things that you could do that would give you a similar level of peace, relaxation, whatever it might be, but that could be more beneficial to your life and to your goals? Right? So now I have two angles to be able to attack this from. So let's see how this plays out.
So training also helps you to unwind. Reading also helps you to unwind. Is that
doubling down on this just before I take this pathway to make sure that it is the right thing to do?
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, do you see why this is important? Because right now we've got tonality, another video, hour, 2 hour, 3 hour long video that I could make. He said, yeah, verbiage wise, we got the answer that we wanted, right? He said, yes, I want a yes. But his tonality is not aligning with his verbiage. There's hesitation there. So where is that coming from? I need to challenge that. This is exactly what you have got to be doing on your high ticket sales calls. I'm telling you, sales, high ticket sales is so nuanced. The vast majority of people in this market are not going into this level of depth. The reason why high ticket sales is, I'm rambling on and ranting like Kanye West right now, I know. But the reason why high ticket sales is so nuanced is because it's not like you have 3 months to close a deal. You have 60 minutes, which means that absolutely everything that happens must be paid close attention to. This is one of those situations. If somebody is saying, yeah, that doesn't sound that confident, right? So explore why it's not confident, which is what I'm about to do.
Yeah, are you sure? Or
Yeah. Like
again, another, yeah, right? So I know for sure he's not confident on this. So I need to go into a little bit more depth.
yeah, they all serve their own purpose. Unwind is a bit of a vague term, but yeah, they all help me unwind.
Okay, so that's an indication. This is huge. Kahal was giving me an alley-oop here, right? You could miss that, but he's saying, I don't really understand what you mean by this. There's so many sub layers of communication when you really start paying attention to what's going on. This here is active listening, right? He's saying to me right now, I don't understand what you mean by this. Can you explain it in more detail? Even though that is not what he said. So now I know that that is what I need to do. And as a result of me doing that, perhaps I will be able to shift his perspective on these things having value to him and enabling him to relax more.
Mind.
It will help you to feel like you're a little bit more relaxed at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, there we got the yeah with the downward inflection. Yeah? Upward inflection suggests hesitation. Yeah. With the downwards inflection suggests assurance. Okay, so now I'm comfortable, I'm happy. It's like, okay, cool. I've tied off this section of the strategic questioning. I can move on to the next thing. You need to look at this as like building bricks, building a house, right? Every brick needs to stack on top of each other. If you don't put one brick in place and then you build the rest of the house, will you be fine? Sure. It's not going to be great though, is it? Like rain is going to become again, damp's going to become again, all of this type of stuff. You probably can get around it for a little while, a year or so, but then the house is just going to be useless. But if you miss multiple bricks in the process, I mean, you're not even going to have a house in the first place because the house is going to fall down. It's the same thing when you are putting together your reframes. If you are missing these small steps, if you're not picking up on these small nuances, this is why you are closing at 10%. This is why you are not at 100K per month already. It's because you are missing out on these core nuances that are crucial to you being able to crush it in high ticket sales.
I guess what I'm getting at is, say for example with the gym.
Okay, this is now I am setting the trap. It's going to be really interesting for you to say, especially if you watch all of this through and then we come back. I'm starting to set the trap now.
If you were to be consistent with the gym every single day for the next 10 years of your life, do you feel like that would have a material impact on your life as a whole?
Not the best thing from me here. Material impact, what does that mean? I get lucky because Kahal comes back to me and he says, I don't really know what that means. But good binary question, right? You're not going to say no to that. I know for a fact because of the way that I have positioned the question, aka again, it's a strategic question. I know he has to say yes. He cannot say no to that.
What do you mean by material?
You'd feel healthier, you would be healthier, you'd be in better shape. Mentally, you'd probably be a lot more focused. You'd learn the skill of discipline, a lot more things along those lines.
So I've actually used my mistake as a way to double down on the point. I could have just said, oh, it would put you in the position where you feel healthier, right? I think maybe I gave 4 or 5 different ways that this would have a positive benefit on your life, again, to push Kahal in the direction of the yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and same thing. Let's say, for example, if you were to read every
So he's now 1 foot into the trap.
single day for at least an hour, in 10 years' time, do you feel like that would have a material difference on your life?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 steps into the trap.
When it comes to the video game side of things, and I'm not trying to take it away from you, because if it brings...
Okay, this front end is really important. So I've now set the trap. I've now got agreements from Kahal that, yeah, if I were to go to the gym every single day for 10 years, or if I were to read for an hour every single day for 10 years, that it's going to benefit me. Like it's actually going to benefit my life. Which is important because now when I juxtapose it against the question with the video games, I know that I'm not going to get the same answer. But the thing is, because I have set a logic trap here, I've set a conversational trap here, I'm going to lean in with empathy on the front end of this question before I deliver it. So again, I can lower sales resistance. Just in case the prospect or Kahal gets pissed off at the fact that he's like, oh, fuck, you got me, right?
brings you joy and it helps you to relax and unwind, that's fantastic. But when it comes to the video game side of things, in the same way that the gym, as you
doubling down on what he's already said, again, to make it harder and harder for him to say anything other than what I want him to.
said, is going to have a material difference on your life. In the same way that reading is going to have a material difference in your life. Do you think that paying...
Just a small thing, I hope you're not finding this so frustrating that I'm pausing every 2 seconds. A small thing, here I'm using alliteration in my speech to make what I'm saying more compelling, right? If you use repetition of phrases over and over again as you are speaking, it creates more momentum in your speech, which in turn again makes you more interesting to listen to and also will create more buy-in from the prospect. Okay.
Video games for an hour, maybe 2 hours every single day. In 10 years' time, it's going to have the same material.
Okay. It's very, 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 very small thing that I've done here. When I asked him about reading, I said 1 hour. When I asked him about the gym, I said 1 hour. When I said about video games, I said 1 hour or potentially 2 hours, right? I'm just leaning into that very softly, again, to kind of highlight you're wasting time. But it's a super, super, super small thing. Probably didn't need to cover it, but it's again just the looping back to this whole concept of using loaded language to push the conversation in the direction that you want it to go.
Impact on your life and helping you to become the version of yourself that you want to be.
Let's actually go back so you can hear this play out.
Have a material difference on your life in the same way that reading is going to have a material difference in your life. Do you think that playing video games for an hour, maybe 2 hours every single day, in 10 years' time is going to have the same material impact on your life and helping you to become the version of yourself that you want to be?
You can't say yes, right? How can you justify that? This is the difference between selling B2C and selling B2B. Again, this is probably part of the reason why some of you are still closing at 10%. It's because a lot of sales trainers are teaching you how to sell people off of emotion. And it does work. I'm not going to lie to you. It does work. It works incredibly well, especially when you're dealing with people who've never jumped onto a sales call before and they can be pressured into a situation. But when you are dealing with business owners, when you are dealing with people who are making 10, 20, 100, 200, 500K per month, that shit does not work. They have seen it all before. And a lot of the time, the easiest way to sell them is to sell them off of logic. And that is exactly what I am doing here. I am using Cahal's own logic against him because he has said, and I'm not doing it in a malicious way either, which is really important, right? I'm not actually trying to manipulate him. I am manipulating the conversation, but I don't want to manipulate him. I want him to be as honest as he possibly can be with me so that we can figure this out together. Difference between a hard closer and a collaborative closer, right? Difference between a hard closer and a consultative closer, right? So the walls at this stage, I think on Cahal's side must feel like they're coming in because there is no escape right now. It is checkmate.
And you do cognitively, you develop cognitively quite a lot with video games, I feel.
Okay, right. So we can tell by the response that Cahal has given that he is stuck, because that's not a great response to give. Again, I have told Cahal to be as difficult as he possibly can be in this role play, to make it as challenging as possible.
And again,
the other thing that is important to note is the amount of time that it has taken Cahal to come up with that response. You can tell he also knows that he's trapped, right? So this is a good indication on your side for you to know, okay, now I've taken a quantum leap forwards in the conversation. There's still a lot of work to do. I haven't reframed his perspective on this, but I have shifted his perspective on the front end of the conversation. The back end of the conversation is really just, well, should you be spending time on this? And I need to double down on that many more times to get him to the stage where he's like, you're right. He's not at a you're right stage yet, but you can see there's been a shift.
Yeah, I'm on the same side of you. I agree. I do. I'm not saying...
Okay, here we go, right? So I'm leaning in with empathy. There's no... And these things that I'm telling you right now, you have to embody them. I'm not saying to you, you need to engage in non-judgment, but internally you're actually judging the prospect, because that doesn't work. Like, I'm actually not judging him. A lot of what he's saying is true. Does playing video games come with cognitive benefits? Yes, it does. You're right. Like, what am I supposed to say to that? Yeah, you are. You're 100% right. Me having that level of honesty with him, right, and being able to let my guard down is in turn going to enable him to have that level of honesty with me and let his guard down. It's a mirror. And this is why it's so important that you are leading the conversation, that you are in control of the conversation. Because if you're not, and you're not setting the frame in the right way, the conversation isn't going to go the way that you want it to. Okay? I promise you, I really mean this. First and foremost, you can probably tell I am a nerd when it comes to sales. I absolutely love it. But the second thing is, I promise you, nobody is explaining this stuff in this level of detail to you. That it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And it makes sense, right? Because you're dealing with human psychology, which is very complex.
Saying that it's not going to have any positive impacts, right? But what I'm getting at is, do you think comparatively to going to the gym?
Okay, so here now I'm clarifying the question. I'm being even more specific in what I'm saying.
Every single day and reading every single day, that in 10 years' time, it will give you the same benefits as those activities.
No.
Strategic questioning. There is no yes response to that based on the previous questions that I have asked thus far. Okay, so I could continue going on. I actually have no idea how long this video is at this point in time. Could be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I'm not sure. But I am hoping that you have got a stupid amount of value from this, because hopefully you can see I've put my heart and soul into this and not held anything back. If you have enjoyed this, you can subscribe if you want to. If you don't want to, enjoy yourself, have a good day. If you want to like the video, you can. If you don't want to, don't do it. Enjoy the rest of your day. All the best. Bye.